Hello and welcome to Zelda Speedruns! Today we have another match of the A Link to the Past Randomizer Challenge Cup. The match is in round 3. We have game 2 between StructuralMike and aarshap. Commentators for this will be Mayandiam and SmirkJD.
Him at 5-2, so he took part in that grand 9-player play your way into the second round of the brackets thing, and he was successful there.
And so sorry for not unmuting the commentators before a few seconds ago.
So everything we've been saying, nobody's heard.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for that intro, Siberian, and welcome one and all to Zelda Speedruns. We've got the match today, as Siberian mentioned, between StructuralMike and aarshap, who are now underway. We had a little technical snafu there, but we are with you now. I am Mayandiam, joined in the booth by the baby-faced assassin, SmirkJD. Smirk, say hi to everybody.
Hello, everybody. You're never going to make me stop laughing about that. Thank you for allowing me to come today with you, Mayandiam, and Siberian. Thanks again for the intro. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, chat. This is so exciting. I'm ready to see this race. It's going to be close.
And we have hot off the hop there, aarshap with the map check, 3 crystal light world, 3 regular crystal. I don't think any of those flashed red at all, and Mike is going to double check that for us.
Looks like the 3 crystal. It's my favorite start. Ooh, a fire rod start. This is definitely one of the fastest escape times when you have bombs already and you have a fire rod to start with. Oops. Oh gosh. Looks like StructuralMike having a little trouble there with quick swapping into the fire rod and dropped a bomb and down to 1 heart.
Dropped a bomb, got a little bullied by the guards there. Probably not the happiest you're going to be on the start here, but there are plenty of hearts under pots here in the escape sequence that he can go ahead and avail himself of.
Yeah, as long as he can get, he's down to half a heart, so as long as he can avoid any damage and get to those pots behind the guard in the first hallway, there we go. Better safe than sorry there.
Yep, taking it very safe there. It looks like a small magic drop there. Was that their first drop off of the guards?
It looks like, which means that they will have bombs in the prize pack. Again, they already have bombs, but in case they accidentally use them and run out.
You know, it's also nice just to be part of the way through that prize pack in case you happen to need a bomb later.
Exactly. And yes, answer in chat, that is a goose on aarshap's side. It's usually very fun to watch the goose with the sword, so we'll hopefully see that later.
Goose with the sword, the signs, bushes, you know, just about anything that goose up. Also able to lug around a shield in addition to the sword. It's one of the more entertaining sprites, I think.
Definitely.
We do have that small key bright and early. It has to show up by Dark Cross at the absolute latest, but, you know, runners have it in hand now, so next couple of checks, hopefully something interesting.
It's also important to note they got the Moon Pearl pretty early this time, so it's definitely not going to be one of those Moon Pearl hunts.
Which is nice, but the other pieces of the Dark World access puzzle still need to turn up either a couple of swords and a lamp to get into Aga, or the hammer glove to use some of the other portals scattered around the world, or a couple of gloves works as well.
Right. The nice thing about the early Moon Pearl is that if it is, if they do want to risk an early Aga play for whatever reason, it's, not as scary. Going to do Aga to get to Dark Pearl without the Moon Pearl is usually a last option, last resort. Whereas having the Moon Pearl, it makes it a little more tempting to make an early Aga play.
It does become a little more reasonable to make an Aga gamble under those circumstances. If you don't have the Moon Pearl and you're just banking on it being on Pyramid Ledge, and it's not your absolute last location, that is a gamble in truth.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like StructuralMike has been able to make up some time after getting behind earlier on. Looks like they're almost in sync here.
Mike's been making really good use of that fire rod to clear things out of his way. It looks like aarshap has been just a little more on the jukin' and jivin', trying to preserve his magic. You can see that he's got an extra fire rod shot still in the bank here.
Yes, chat. This is a Super Mario RPG MSU that you're hearing.
It is rather fitting. It appears to be StructuralMike's go-to MSU. At least it was the 2 games that I played him. He's the guy who put me out of this tournament, surprisingly enough. But while our runners are working their way through the dark here, I will say that both of these runners were placed into the round of 64 directly. StructuralMike by winning his group in, and aarshap was part of that grand 9-player play-in race for one of the buys as one of the 5 and 2 runners.
Oh, that's right. I kind of forgot that was the case for aarshap. Oh, and I almost thought that wasn't the rat.
No, that was in fact the rat. And aarshap then made it to this point by beating Cox031, the 23rd overall seed, by a 2-0 score. And StructuralMike got here, again, a 2-0 score, beating yours truly.
Oh, and an early flute. So this is going to give them a few extra options early on. If they decide to go up the mountain sooner than another, we can see some divergence earlier than usual.
It is really nice to have your hands on that flute early. Really good mobility item. Once you can tie that in with something like the boots or the hook shot, you feel pretty good about your ability to get around the world quickly.
Alright, so just about a 6-minute escape time for both of them, which, is pretty good. Of course, the fire rod does help it out a bit, but still a very good escape time.
And we're going to get immediate divergence. StructuralMike has decided to save and quit out of the sanctuary and is going to head somewhere else. It looks like probably going to buy some bombs here.
Right.
And we'll see where he goes from there. Meanwhile, aarshap, going with kind of the old textbook play, is going to go right on into the forest and have a look at a couple of checks here and then duck south into the village.
Yeah, StructuralMike had a couple of bomb issues in Escape and accidentally used the bomb early and then dropped the bomb later in the rat room. And so he ran out while he was there. So this is obviously influencing his play here.
And it's not bad. When you've already found one of the 300s, there are 5 of them in the pool, you have easy money for bombs. And, maybe he finds a bottle up here in Sahasrarla's closet and can make an extra check in the village that aarshap can't.
Very true. Very true. We will see if there's any difference. Ooh, green pendant check. Full woods. Since, what I was saying before, since aarshap is going to probably activate his flute in Kakariko, we'll see if he saves a little time flying to the places that Mike has gone to.
That is entirely possible, and Mike is still going to Well, not going to eschew the village after all. I was thinking for a hot minute there that he was going to go ahead and go down to the dam and maybe see Mini Moldorm Cave, but no, going to come at the village from the south here.
Why do you think that is? I feel like this is an interesting decision. Is it because he skipped Lost, didn't go to Lost Woods from Sang?
Yeah, I'm wondering. I have seen this play from a number of runners, and since I don't run it personally, I'm not really conversant with the reasons why runners pick this, but it is kind of 6 a column A and half a dozen a column B as far as going south to north and north to south through the village when you've got bombs. If you don't have bombs, then doing the south loop, you can try to farm up some off of those 50-50 bushes south of the grove there.
Right,
yeah,
and yeah,
maybe something we'll ask him about after the race.
Yeah.
While we've been pondering Mike's routing choices, we should note that aarshap has found the cape, part of that AGA access puzzle, potentially. But it's early days yet, and
Wow.
maybe the glove and the hammer just show up here in South Shore somewhere.
I mean, after the first 10 checks in Kakariko and just the cape, it's definitely feeling like AGA, but I mean, you're right, it's definitely a little early.
Especially with the flute, you can get up onto the mountain if you happen to pull the hook shot from somewhere, or the mirror and the hammer, then you can, you've got another 8 checks up there afterwards. Plus a couple in Tower of Pharaoh, potentially.
And, just as a reminder as well, StructuralMike did check the back of Sok's closet, so, they're kind of, without the South Shore checks, they're starting to get to dipping into dungeons to look for the Dark World access.
A lot of runners do not like to throw themselves into Eastern bright and early. It is kind of a slog to get through there, especially without the boots, but, aside from the lamp and or fire rod locked locations in that dungeon, there are 4 checks, potentially, if the big key is early, that are part of Sphere 1, and the game can just put stuff there for you.
And that has bitten me and many other runners very many times by skipping it, but we'll see what happens today.
The hope of both of our runners is they just find a bow before they're forced to go over there, and then they can clear the whole place out.
I think personally, I would gamble the AGA if I don't find anything interesting in South Shore. Well, there's something interesting.
Yeah, aarshap now a mirror or a hookshot away from being able to clear out pretty much the entirety of Light Mountain. Doesn't have a sword or a book, so unable to do anything with Ether Tablet just yet, but that's pretty close to 8 or 10 checks.
Oh, here's Mike going to do those Lost Woods checks.
I'll be curious if he carries this play on up and makes the lumberjack check. This could be an intentional routing decision to try to get that check worked in, because you can save and quit out of it rather than having to walk all the way up there and then all the way back out.
Right. Yeah, very good point. Especially, now wondering about the AGA, could be a little hint there as well. It's so funny to watch the goose with the bomb there.
The goose with the bomb is pretty great. And Mike sees those bombs in Lost Woods, and here comes the flute. So not going to go ahead and make the AGA check here. There's that hookshot we were talking about.
Wow.
And the bow. aarshap
Wow.
probably going to be pretty happy about heading over to the eastern area at this point.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a great deal of mountain access beside. Mini Moldorm Cave, the true hype cave of version 31.
Yeah, exactly. Looks like aarshap is not skipping out checking Ice Rock Cave though, so.
choosing to be thorough with his Sphere 1 checks. Makes a lot of sense. You know, a lot of runners will get burned trying to leave this and/or gain his cave behind, you know. Like anything in Rando, most of the time it has nothing, but when it has something, especially when it's an out-of-the-way location like this, you can get in a lot of trouble.
And just rupees there.
I think that was the third of the 3 hundos we've seen already. Again, there are only 5 of those in the pool, and they are showing up bright and early. Plenty of Zora money if he wants to go that route with it, but it looks like the mountain is calling Aarshap's name.
Yeah, and like you said, you know, getting that hook shot, it's definitely, you know, the hook shot plus the hammer, you have access to Hera, you have access to Paradox Cave, it's so many checks over there.
And again, there's not really a bad answer at this point. Sure, you also found the bow, so you could clear out Eastern. I guess the hope here on Aarshap's side would be, well, you know, I'm just gloved from Dark World access anyway. Maybe I can also find the mirror and chain Eastern and Palace of Darkness together, provided that Palace of Darkness winds up being another crystal. It could be a nice little bit of routing efficiency, and Aarshap pulls an out-of-logic mushroom out of the dark. That seems like an appropriate place to find it.
And that's interesting. And, you know, since they have the flute, the mushroom's real easy to check. So we'll see if he decides to do that.
The only trick with the flute is you're not going to be in much of a position to perform save and quits, so the ability to save scum that mushroom is a little harder to come by.
Ah, very true. Yeah, my friend Nitro was telling me about how he played a seed where there was a powder on pedestal and a progression item on the powder, and because of the, you know, the fake powder glitch with the mushroom, he was able to save a lot of time. So it's important sometimes to really hold on to that mushroom to where you can use a hard reset.
Aarshap has seen the second bow and is going to make the beeline for it. Silver
Wow.
arrows do a whole lot of damage to a whole lot of things. Likely to be able to save more than enough time with the amount of time he spent walking into that cave, and there's a save and quit. That is an interesting save and quit point. You can bomb jump out of that cave to continue on your merry way, but that does set up a save and quit if he wants to flute away and check the mushroom right now, and the flute's coming out.
Okay, I think so. Yeah, so like you said, I think this is where he might decide to hard reset if nothing is here.
And nothing is there. There is the hard reset of the console, going to preserve that mushroom just in case he finds the red cane and has the opportunity to fake powder later. And StructuralMike, following right along in his footsteps, sees that bow, takes a dive.
Wait.
And a save and quit. I'm not sure what that was, actually. I can't imagine that 16 minutes in, StructuralMike has chosen to intentionally not pick up the silver arrows. I feel like that might have been a missed input on the controller, which would be unfortunate. And of course, he does have the hook shot, he does have the hammer, he can go all the way around to Hera, and then he can jump down and get it on the return trip.
Right, right. It's still, yeah, I'm still a little confused by it, but like you said, you know, on the return trip.
Yeah, the stranger part was the jumping down the pit part and then the save and quit. You know, could have just walked back out of the cave and jumped down to hookshot around to the side.
And we see aarshap get the boots there. So, you know, fortunately, the boots are in such a location that they'll both get it around the same time. So it won't really give either of them any kind of significant advantage over the other.
Yep, always nice to have the boots on your feet. We'll see a little bit of different style of execution. Of course, without a sword just yet, dashing around is not always the safest thing in the world.
Right.
So the duck going to zip on into the Tower of Hera here. I expect that StructuralMike is going to be following along very shortly.
Looks like StructuralMike getting that fairy just to top off his hearts there. And they do have the option for Harapot here with the boots and the hook shot for hook speed Harapot, or with the bombs. And looks like Airshop's using the bomb setup for it. Looks like he got it. Second try.
I'm not sure if maybe he was a pixel off on his first bomb placement because his sprite lineup looked good on the first attempt.
And looks like StructuralMike is choosing to go ahead and check the basement.
This is going to be the vanilla big key for Mike, so if there's something in the big chest, aarshap is leaving it behind. I wonder if this may be an intentional gamble on aarshap's side, having lost game 1 by a mere 49 seconds, that he thinks, you know, maybe this is a check that I can just skip. The Hera basement check does take a little while, as we've seen on StructuralMike's side.
Alright, StructuralMike taking the death warp there after getting the big key. Oh, a glove on Trolldorm.
I expect that aarshap is going to be happy with that and not going to come back in for the item in the big chest, if indeed there was one. I did not catch what was in that first basement cage chest, but that is first blood of this match. First crystal on the board for aarshap at 20 minutes.
It's like StructuralMike opting for the hook speed Harapot. Gave it a few tries and decided to skip it.
It's one of those tricks that's a time save if you get it quickly, and you know, if you get to be stubborn about it and just keep trying it, eventually you've spent more time on it than you would have spent just climbing the tower. So discretion may be the better part of valor here for Mike.
And he'll probably give us a show of what is in that Hera big chest, and we'll see if Aarshap decided to take a good gamble or not here. Just bombs.
So aarshap doesn't know it, but that's not something he's going to have to come back for. Now, that does not preclude him from having to come back later while he's looking for some other progression item, knowing, well, I left an item behind there. If it's sitting there too long, it may come back and burn me.
And it looks like Aarshap is taking that glove and that hammer and that Dark Gold Axis, going directly to Hype Cave area.
Pendants all the way down the left side of the map, starting with green at Skull Woods and then 5-6 at Turtle Rock and Ice. Alright, well that's an interesting looking Dark World layout, that's
Very
for sure.
interesting. Alright, let's see what this Hype Cave gives us today.
Let's play the game we call Hype or Tripe. Yeah, well, those bombs, since aarshap was out, are I guess not as tripe as they might usually have been, but we've got money, the 10 bomb pack, and more money. It's tripe all the way down.
Yep, that was a 0.
Now, maybe the more interesting question here is, does aarshap want to go east or west with that hammer and the bow, of course? There would be some out-of-logic portions of Palace of Darkness, but, you know, could fully clear it.
Yeah, I like that he's checking this left side first, and then, probably going to head over to the east side afterwards. Is that our first bottle?
That is our first bottle. And I like this play better when you have the flute, but you also have the mirror, because that way you can come back off of the dig game screen and mirror and just flute to 5 if Palace of Darkness was your next play.
Right.
With this, it's more like a save and quit or several long screens worth of dashing. But sometimes the mids are just on dig game, and that's a way Rando rolls occasionally. StructuralMike is going to give us that same tripe cave play. And the backup map check, of course, both runners taking their time, making sure they get everything noted down properly. It does not do to mismark a pendant as a crystal or vice versa.
Yeah, you wouldn't know anything about that, right, mind you?
Nope, nothing at all. Never done that, ever. Never lost a race by 5 minutes by full clearing pendant mire. Not me.
Yeah, that's it's one of those things where it's a very costly mistake sometimes. Unless you get lucky and the pendant happens to be required anyway, yeah, it's gonna cost you. Ooh, so Mike deciding to go straight to the pot area. So he'll miss out on a couple of bottles. That's all aarshap managed to find with Stumpy in the dig game. Oh wait, nope. Sorry, I said that wrong. Looks like StructuralMike is checking Pyramid Ledge first.
Yeah, Pyramid Ledge is a fine first check here. You can dash over here reasonably quickly. Maybe you find something like your lamp. You find a safety before you head into pod. But I'm pretty sure this is ultimately going to be a pod play from him.
Yeah, probably. Now, do you think he will check Catfish as well?
Before pod, I wouldn't expect it, no.
Okay.
Now that doesn't mean he can't make a total liar out of me, and he may not even want to go to pod at all. Maybe what he wants to do here is hook shot across the river. That's kind of an interesting play, but
Yeah, I feel like, for me, I would want to stick to the right side, just because those are where all the crystals are, but, I mean, you never know. There's still so many items left to find. And like you said, he definitely has that option, with the hook shot.
Mike showing a little good game knowledge there, picking up that bush before the hop down. There's a 50-50 heart under there. And not quite getting that bush into the circle of stones, and so the catfish was not coming out.
Oh, okay. Well, the lamp is not necessarily required for these runners. It definitely can speed up your progression through the dark rooms. So
that is
we'll
an
see.
Interesting get. We probably should note that aarshap is still without a sword here. The sword is one of those things where if you don't have the lamp, you'll make the dark rooms a little easier on yourself. And especially when you start talking about something like the dark maze here or that dark turtle room, you can make that last one a little easier with the fire rod, but oh, hey, there's a sword. Never mind. He's fine now.
Swords. I mean, but even with the sword, even though it's faster, most of the time, not needing to do it completely dark does make it a little bit faster.
Yeah, holding the sword out does slow you down ever so slightly, and of course when you can see where you're going and see where the things you need to avoid are, it's, just a little easier.
Alright, here's that lumberjack check. Just a piece of heart. Yeah, my game's been calling it left and right today.
Yep, the sword early there in Palace of Darkness, also the compass there. You can have a maximum of 2 non-small keys in the front of Palace of Darkness, and that was the second non-small key that aarshap found. But plenty more things that are available to him here in the back, just has to get the switch set in the proper orientation and head away.
sorry. aarshap missing that bonk over the gap there a couple times, and he finally gets it. There we go. Third try.
Not always the easiest thing to hit for some reason. The positioning does matter, and aside from just kind of eyeballing it, and I also have no idea how that bug happens.
I hate when that happens. It happens all the time.
It's terrible, and if anybody in chat happens to know why that happens, I will be happy to learn. But here we are, Mike with another save and quit to the mountain is going to go ahead and flute away again. Looks like now we're going to go ahead and get the Palace of Darkness play.
There we go, yeah. I think he was just being thorough. He checked again on Desert Ledge, just making sure he has all those early checks out of the way. That way he's not missing anything important.
Probably the concern that maybe I left a sword or something behind here.
Exactly. Now, is this a key for a key? No. What?
No, he had 3 small keys before he entered the room.
Oh, okay. I don't know why I missed that. I just saw the 2 and I was like, why is he?
Yeah, because he spent the 3rd on the door to get in.
Because he actually already... Yep.
So here's aarshap with a little bit of execution of navigating this dark maze with the sparkles of the sword, kind of using a little positioning system there. But Mike is going to show us what that actually looks like here in probably a couple of minutes.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if aarshap decides to go all the way through to the boss. The turtle room can be challenging. I mean, with the fire rod, at least you can light up the torch there, right?
Yep, as long as you get that torch... Oh, well, hi there,
Okay, then. It's funny, I feel like the mitts are always in pot. Or at least there's always a glove in pot, and it's almost always that stinking big chest.
Looks like aarshap wanted to come in and death warp on a Kodongo, and instead is going to have to resort to bombs after was going to navigate to find that Kodongo and slashed it to death. So a little intentional death abuse there with bombs instead to go back to the front of the dungeon.
So that is you said a Kodongo? I'm unfamiliar with all the names of the monsters.
Well, in Zelda 1, the boss version of that was Dodongo. So they're the baby Dodongos, thus Kodongo.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm always learning something new.
Mike finding his sword there, and the Stalfos drop down.
Mike using that putting that hook shot to good use here. Definitely using it to get around a little faster.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of really good movement tech out of Mike so far this race.
Did you see that? Did he, his dash, was that just lag? It, slowed down. Mike's, when Mike was bonking that wall, it slowed down a lot. Was that just lag, or was
that was just lag.
Okay. All right, we're gonna see aarshap get into the turtle room. We'll see how he approaches it. Well, soon.
Still trying to approach the room that's the approach to it, but now he's getting on through, going to get the ether medallion out. I don't think that's going to do what he needs, but here's the fire rod.
Okay. There it goes.
Can be more than a little tricky to find that torch to begin with, but once you've got it, the rest of the room is pretty straightforward.
Right. And this is the kind of thing I was talking about before with how much time the lamp can save, Just having to use that fire rod there to light that torch took some extra time. Navigating that dark maze took some extra time. So, if aarshap never goes to Catfish and finds that lamp, he can definitely clear the whole game, but how much time will he have lost going through the dark rooms without it?
Probably, thankfully, from his point of view, those are the most difficult ones that he's actually going to have to do. The dark platform maze in Turtle Rock is pretty straightforward. And Mire being a pendant, not going to have to worry about the dark basement there, most likely, unless a required progression item is on Vitrees, of course.
Right. What are the chances of that, right?
Oh, never happens. Why would anyone kill any pendant boss ever?
I'm not intentionally saying that just to jinx it or anything.
So we have aarshap putting his second crystal of the match on the board at 33 minutes, while Mike finds those mitts in the big chest. The hammer is there normally, so, you know, a piece of the Dark World access puzzle being there is kind of French vanilla.
That's a good point. Oh, King's turn.
Yeah, it's a good point. If you're going to be saving and quitting anyway, go to Sank, go ahead and get this out of the way. You have no mirror yet, so it's not like you can really chain it in with Graveyard Ledge. So let's see what aarshap wants next. Certainly appears to be heading, well, maybe not towards the Village of Outcast area. Bonk Rocks first.
And did aarshap check Lumberjack Ledge? I don't think he did. So
I do not believe he did. So yes, we may see that check here before we really get into something new. There's 300 number 4. Money, 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 says the seed. Anybody have a Zora check on the brain?
Right?
You could pay him off 3 times over. Maybe he'd give you something good.
That would be nice if you could do that. Just keep paying Zora and getting random items. Eventually something good, right? Oh, now, when Mike came over here, he did not have the glove or the mitts, so aarshap getting to check the Mire area, Mire Shed,
And Bombos for Mire today is what I believe I saw there.
a shovel.
Come to the Mire area, get a fetch quest, and leave.
Now the Dark Death Mountain is also available.
It is, and it doesn't seem to be what aarshap wants to go do next. Going to go ahead and get into Village of Outcasts area.
I just gotta point out that I love the boss music from Super Mario RPG. It's so fun here to see, to hear, I should say. That was a very quick Counselor kill.
Yep, Mike evening that crystal count right back up 2.5 minutes later. As expected from 2 runners who were separated by a grand total of 49 seconds in Game 1, we've got another tight one on our hands today.
Right, we'll see. Looks like aarshap is checking Green Pendant Skullwoods. Now, a lot of people consider this just overworld, but we'll see if he finds anything interesting here.
You know, it is interesting insofar as they got that fire rod really pretty early. Maybe the game is trying to point him in this direction.
Could very well be.
And, you know, the green pendant itself with 1 extra item's worth of value, and he still needs to go back to the eastern area to clear out Eastern Palace itself. So maybe the thought process is we'll see what the items are here in Skull Woods, and we'll have something else that leads us back over to Eastern, which we need to do here in a minute anyway.
And looks like Mike is going directly to Eastern first, so we'll see if this pays off for one or the other of them.
Yep, they both managed to avoid Eastern Palace until they found the bow, so no double dips on offer today, not for Eastern Palace.
Important to note that they wouldn't have found a bow here at all, since they found both bows elsewhere.
Indeed, they were not going to be bailed out finding a bow in its vanilla dungeon.
Alright, so this is a fighter sword.
Fighter sword hammer, but
Hammer.
I think there's at least one blue potion on offer here for
Right.
aarshap, so can just go back to the fire rod strats if the hammer does not work out and the health dips too low.
Right. And the blue mail does help a little.
It helps against the moth, but not against the
Not
spikes.
against the spikes, yeah. But he's landing these hits, so I think he needs one more? Like, actually, no, well, now one more. No, maybe not. There it is.
Yeah, a couple of those unfortunately got eaten by the spikes. The moth does cheat. It's coded not to take what is called class 4 damage, which is what these spikes do. It's also what the butter sword does. Now, the rando devs have generously caused the butter sword to do tempered sword damage against the moth, but it also means you do not want to spin with either the tempered or the butter sword, because that also does class 4 damage, and the rando devs have not been kind enough to recode that for the fight.
Aarshap going back for that chest there. Now, if he does not find an item here, do you think he will check the rest of the front?
I would expect that he would at this point. You know, if you're, well, you find some bombs there, so
That's both items.
Here comes the save and quit.
So he'll probably head over to the green pendant eastern area now. We'll see if that paid off at all for him, because the other two items in Skullwoods were not important at all.
It was at least a reasonably quick check, but if it does not pay out in anything, then we have had our first lead change the match.
Oh, and Aarshap hasn't actually checked the back of Saha's closet yet either, has he?
You are correct. He has not made that check. That was one that Mike made early before heading to the village. So aarshap knew that he was heading to Saha's closet eventually all along, picking up that green pendant, you know, just a little more value.
That's some good foresight there. Not something I think about, and I need to learn it to get better at that.
Now, you know, technically the things that they've needed so far have kind of been on the way, so it is something in the nature of a gamble to have gone and killed the green pendant boss at this point. But, you know, maybe it works out for aarshap.
Looks like Mike getting trolled there by the red Igor.
Well, it was more the Stalco that did it. It was not cooperating with him at all. And so
really
then
wasn't.
he got a little itchy trigger finger on that red Igor, and the whole room decided for just a second that it wasn't going to cooperate with him. Now, blink and you'll miss this Armos Knights fight.
Wow.
Silver arrows not intended to be used on early game bosses. One shot per Armos Knight, and away they go. StructuralMike taking the crystal lead at 40 minutes and 49 seconds, 3-2.
And Eastern was empty. There was just nothing there.
Yeah, you know, sometimes that's just the way these crystal dungeons go. Sometimes it has everything, and sometimes nothing at all. Now, of course, our other two crystal dungeons did pay out. Both Hera and Palace of Darkness had a copy of the gloves, and there was a sword in Pod as well.
Very true. All right, so do you think this is the East Dark World, East Death Mountain chat?
East Mountain play from Mike here makes a whole lot of sense. You can go ahead and get the information about what you need to get into Turtle Rock. You know, maybe it's that Ether Medallion you already have, maybe it's not. Of course, without the Cane of Samaria, you're not going to be going in, but there are 6 checks up here he can make in addition. 7 if he wants to go all the way to Spike Cave. See aarshap picking up a couple of pots with arrows there. Good game knowledge. It's one that NMG uses more than Rando on average, but you know, sometimes when you're a little low on sticks, it's good to know where the refills are.
Ah, StructuralMike remembering that he did not do Spiral Cave before.
That was one of the bits that came out of him noping out of those silver arrows initially. He had the choice between going and picking those up after Hera or coming over here and doing Spiral Cave like Aarshap did.
Right. But good thing he remembered. I mean, not that it was anything important, but... And now it looks like he'll probably go... Wow, this room is just not cooperating with either of them. Aarshap having a little trouble with the Stalfos there, too.
Yep, Little Skeleton's just having none of our runners today, and StructuralMike remembering that probably not wanting to enter at the portal for Super Bunny here, because there's no mirror. If Ether is what lets him into Turtle Rock, and then he finds the big red cane up here somewhere, he would have everything that he needs to clear it out. But if he had entered the Dark World at the other portal, he wouldn't have been able to use it. And no, it's Bombos everywhere.
So Bombos for Meyer and for Turtle Rock. Interesting. Very important medallion there.
Possibility now exists of something like Samaria in its vanilla dungeon to come up and beat Turtle Rock. And Aarshap evening up that crystal count is going to come over here to Saha. We'll get that green pendant turn in. We'll see if this did anything for him or if it was just time wasted. 20 rupees.
Like time wasted. Ouch. But having the knowledge is also still good. If there's, you know, a hunt for anything later, there's a chance that StructuralMike does the exact same play, goes to Skull Woods. So we'll see what happens. Well, there's the flippers. You know, it's interesting, neither of them have done the fake flipper. They didn't do the fake flipper checks early on. Now that the real flippers are there, I wonder if Mike will head over in that direction. You know, when he checks Ice Palace.
Yeah, he would need to do them before Ice Palace still at this point, because he's lacking that mirror to get back out afterwards. But yeah, that did put Ice Palace fully in logic for StructuralMike. Now, you know, some runners want to avoid that until they have the Cane of Samaria, but having already spoken briefly about the Cane of Samaria, it could just be in there.
Here's that spiked cave check. So this will leave the mountain completely cleared for Mike, except for the Ether Tablet. He also was the one that did check the big chest in Harris, so...
So he has no reason to come back up here until and unless he can get into Turtle Rock, essentially.
Basically.
And Aarshap following right along behind, finding those flippers. Let's see the play we get from StructuralMike here. I'm expecting it to be ice, full clearable crystal dungeon.
Yeah, he's probably gonna pop this potion, grab another, and go to ice. Now, do you think he'll do the flipper checks around it first, or?
I would be tempted at the very least to go in and check Waterfall Fairy, but
yeah,
you never know.
too.
Some people just want to be clearing those crystal dungeons. I can absolutely understand why a runner would want to do that, and that seems to be StructuralMike's play. You know, with the flute, it doesn't take all that long to flute back to 8 and make those checks again, and you're going to be safe quitting out of this ice play no matter what unless you find the mirror.
Exactly.
The item for the green pendant turn-in was a red rupee, worth 20 rupees. StructuralMike going with the hookshot strats there on the duck gators, as a friend of mine likes to call them, being that he claims the name of penguin and believes that these are not penguins, no matter what the devs might have said originally. And
Alright,
here
now
we
we're
go,
go ahead.
Something we don't get to see a whole lot anymore. We're going to get an Ice Palace Bomb jump out of StructuralMike here in a minute.
Yeah, not having that Cane of Samaria, where you normally see runners these days do the Icebreaker. Without that, you have to see the old school way. And we'll see this bomb jump.
And we'll get a little more divergence from aarshap here, who wants to make the other flipper checks before going into Ice Palace.
That was a first attempt Ice Palace bomb jump. Very nicely done from StructuralMike.
That was definitely solid play on Mike's side. That is something that a lot of runners don't practice. A lot of newer runners kind of look at that and go, why wouldn't I just Icebreaker? Well, without the red cane, you can't, so it's still good to know this trick. Otherwise, you get to do Ice Palace the old-fashioned, long way, the developer-intended strat of making an entire second loop through the place.
Alright, so aarshap finding nothing important from Hobo there, it's just a shield. And will he go to the Zora area at all? Is this a Hylia check? Yes.
Hylia Island also not going to be paying out, but going to continue being thorough with these flipper checks, is headed for the Zora area. Given that Mike hasn't actually pulled anything interesting out of Ice Palace yet, maybe this is a play.
Is that the fifth 300?
That is all 5 300s.
And there's red mail as well, so... Not progression, but definitely handy.
Yes, aarshap has reached 2,066 rupees. Somehow I don't think that red rupee there on the Zora ledge is of any interest to him at all.
Probably not. Oh, missing that bomb jump. So we'll see what he does. Looks like Ice Tier might have an item.
Yep, unfortunately.
Go ahead.
Nope, Zora ledge nothing, and unfortunately missing that bomb jump on StructuralMike's side means that he does have to loop around here to get to the Ice Tea. It doesn't take all that much longer, but it just feels bad when you miss a trick like that. And plus the room after this one with the fire bar and the very limited footing is not always the easiest thing to execute.
Oh, so aarshap is not going into Ice Palace. Looks like he's probably going to go to the Village of Outcasts, maybe dip into Thieves Town, looking for maybe Cane of Samaria, or Bombos, or something.
That is interesting, and, you know, StructuralMike still has not pulled anything out of here. Now, it is one of the 5-6 crystals, but the other one's Turtle Rock, and the entry requirements for Turtle Rock are so steep that pretty much the only thing that could be tucked away behind that at this point would be the mirror.
Right.
Or I guess the book to get into desert. Either way, reasonably unlikely that Pyramid Fairy is going to wind up being the play here, at least not with the number of checks we still have remaining.
Now, aarshap could also be, doubling down on his pendant checks. Since he did Skull Woods Green Pendant and didn't get anything out of it, he may feel like he's a little bit behind if StructuralMike didn't do those things. So, he might be hoping to find something important on these checks that is less likely for StructuralMike to find. Ow. Sorry.
That is entirely possible, and again, it's something that we can ask him in the post-game. StructuralMike, having expended his fire rod shots, has switched to the hammer to get the rest of these cold stare buffs done with.
Looks to be handling very nicely, though. Down it goes.
And finds the second level sword for his trouble. That's nice. You do need at least the Master Sword to win the game. But it doesn't really unlock anything new for StructuralMike at this point. If he had the book, then he would be able to check tablets and actually acquire items from them now, but he doesn't have that, and, aside from making boss kills a little easier, it hasn't really done anything for him.
Okay, so now we're seeing StructuralMike get into a position where he's going to need to start looking at other places, since there aren't any more accessible crystal dungeons.
And it appears that he's going to start with those flipper checks, thinking that, you know, maybe there was another sword out there that I missed, so that was not my expected progression out of Ice Palace, so the flippers have not paid out for me yet. And maybe my next progression piece is just on one of these checks. At least that would probably be what I had in mind if I had just full cleared ice for nothing more than a sword.
Oh, that bottle finally being checked on Sick Kid, and it is the Cane of Samaria. Wow. I had forgotten about Sick Kid, to be honest.
And aarshap sees that and says, you know what, that cracks Ice Palace right in half. Let's go break some ice, shall we? We finally got the ice pick.
Alright, so Sick Kid definitely required. We'll see how long it takes StructuralMike to get over there. But that also, having Bombos, he has access to Turtle Rock as well. He's just missing, what, the mirror for Gomo? And, you know, the sword that he'll get here from Cold Stare.
Yep, he's going to need the mirror for sure.
Yeah, the mirror would give him Go mode because desert, but if no mirror, then he'll need the book for desert access.
Yeah, and the mirror's going to have to show up eventually because Swamp Palace is a crystal, but, you know, it could still be booked to access desert to get that. And we're going to see bomb strats in this room from aarshap. I love these.
Very
Just
nice.
lay a couple of bombs down there on the... You step down to the second tile from that doorway, turn to the side, place 2 bombs, pick one up, toss it over to the left, and just go ahead and run on down, and all the pin gators run themselves right into that explosion.
Yeah, it's so refreshing to see that. The bombs just like, boom. Down go the duck gators. Very fast Samaria icebreaker there. Now, I actually missed it. Where did aarshap find the bombos? Was that on the Smiths?
That was on the Smiths.
Okay.
So front of Smith chain required, small child required. Just need to find that mirror now. And StructuralMike now doing some checks that aarshap has already done. He went and did those overworld flipper checks, has now done the check into the Mire Shack, a little old place where he can get 2 items, including that shovel, which I don't believe aarshap has checked yet.
No, I don't think he has checked that one either. Looks
But
like
StructuralMike likes it as a check.
He's going there right away.
aarshap's also going to try this bomb jump here and nails it.
Alright, so shovel not required.
Alright, now Mike is going to find his Cane of Samaria, but the Bombos medallion, which gets him into both of the dungeons where that matters, is not in his inventory yet, so it's not going to lead him on a wild goose chase.
Clever use of goose chase there.
He's definitely going to get into the general Village of Outcasts area here. I wonder how quickly he's going to get to the Smith. Mirrorless Smith is kind of a slow check. Not a lot of runners like to get at that bright and early.
We'll also see if he decides to dip into Thieves Town. That's something that aarshap skipped. He checked the Village of Outcasts, but he did not check the Thieves Town at all, so...
Yep, we're getting Village of Outcast for sure, but it'll be about 30 seconds and we'll find out what else is going to go on. aarshap with the Bombos to break the Cold Stare Ice Shell, going to reserve a little extra magic for some Fire Rod shots here.
Yeah, so, aarshap's clearing of Ice Palace much, faster than StructuralMike's, considering he had the King of Samaria for Icebreaker and Bombos for Cold Stare, so.
And also with that, Red Mail taking a little less damage here can be a little riskier getting into position for those hammer hits.
Very good point. All right, and now they are tied up on crystals again, and approximately tied up on checks. A couple things one has done, the other has not. But for the most part, about the same. I think aarshap has checked Digging Game and Stumpy, and StructuralMike has not. But StructuralMike has checked Tower of Hera, Big Chest, and also checking Hammer Pegs here.
And the shovel. But
And the shovel
aarshap
has,
is
yeah.
going to be first back onto the mountain. Alright, going to be fluting away though. Was wondering if we were going to get a TR play, and we might want to restock the potions there. Makes a lot of sense. Normal magic, Master Sword, Trinex, not always the kindest fight in the world. And definitely not one you have to run back to after you run out of magic.
I mean, I think the TR play is a good call here, aarshap. It's a pretty dense dungeon. It's a crystal. It's the other red crystal. So, if that mirror, like the case that you gave us, where the mirror could be tucked in Pyramid Fairy, happens to be true, or if it just happens to be laying around in Turtle Rock, that's his go mode. And
yeah, again, we'll kind of default back to that, go in and clear out the crystal dungeons that you can full clear, and sure enough, that's exactly where he's heading. And to nobody's surprise, Mike going to follow right in his footsteps here, going to climb the mountain as well and head for Turtle Rock.
I mean, they're not too far apart, so.
I said it at the beginning, I've said it in the middle, and I'll say it again now. Two runners separated by 49 seconds in game number 1, and here we are. They'll be entering TR within about a minute of each other.
That's a good point from Irritable Penguin in chat. The mirror go mode makes Turtle Rock a good idea because you don't have to worry about skipping a Mimic Cave because they can't be there.
That is absolutely true.
Oh no, StructuralMike getting dead rocked.
Uncooperative winged squirrels.
Oh, there's a book in Turtle Rock. That makes me feel like the mirror is nowhere to be found here.
Well, you clear out TR anyway because it's a crystal dungeon that you need to beat anyway. Then, if you're
Of
thinking on your
course.
feet, you take that book over, maybe to Ether Tablet, or maybe you just run straight to Desert. That's kind of the question when you're looking for the mirror, because to check Ether Tablet as a total one-off with no mirror is kind of time-consuming.
It really is. And, honestly, if it weren't for the fact that they also would like to probably see another sword and maybe even have magic, I would go mode this dungeon. Like, they're not going to find, the mirror's not, like, but, half magic and another sword could be or something, so.
Yeah, it's not here right up until it is, and that's Rando. Rando is going to Rando you every once in a while. So I will point out, as both of our runners are here in Turtle Rock, this is a good time, an hour in, to mention these guys have both been putting on a great show. They're in the same dungeon after an hour. They've cleared all the same things. They've got the same equipment set. Give these runners a follow. Go and show them some love in their own channels. They both run this game quite often. Both really good guys. Even the guy who put me out of the tournament, StructuralMike, was great about it. I have absolutely no complaints whatsoever. My co-com here, of course, is Smirk JD, Professor Pixie, and Homewrecker, doing the tracking for us today, pushing the buttons to make sure that we and you there in the chat know what all is going on, what these guys have in inventory, since in the day and age of Quick Swap, we don't always get to see their menus terribly often. And of course, Siberian, who did all of the technical work on the back end to get this restream together in the first place. Thank you so much, and thank you, chat, for coming out. I hope you are enjoying a great show.
I don't know if you mentioned yourself on giving yourself a follow there, MindDM, so I'm going to go ahead and say that, including all the people MindDM mentioned, please give MindDM a follow. He's also a very incredible runner. Don't let him fool you. And as you can tell, he's great at commentating as well, so he's very fun to follow, very fun to watch on his personal stream as well.
I will say I am better at talking about this game than I am at playing it, but if you enjoy me talking about this game, when I play it, I do tend to talk about it quite a bit.
And you're funny when you do. But anyway, back to the runners. Looks like aarshap is what, just a couple rooms ahead?
Yep, StructuralMike needs to hit the vanilla big key location here, so a couple of tube transitions and a couple of screen transitions for StructuralMike behind. It's probably still right around a minute. Aarshap with the bug net there in the big chest. We can now fight Agatu in the particularly Nintendo community prescribed manner.
And I kind of wanted to mention the time difference here is mostly attributed to that Hera basement skip. The Hera basement and checking the big chest, that adds about, what, a minute and a half, 2 minutes?
Probably about 45 seconds to a minute, yeah.
Oh, that's it? Oh, okay. I always forget how long those tile rooms actually take.
Now we're going to see aarshap doing the platform maze in the dark here. You can kind of orientate yourself on all of those fire bars, so it's not as bad as some might think. But he does seem to be a little off kilter here. This is time that StructuralMike is going to get back.
Right, with the lamp in hand. Unless you're me and you still mess up the tiles or the platform just because you can't push buttons right.
And we have a lead change.
Wow. Okay, looks like aarshap is... I can't actually tell where he is.
He's gotten back off at the top and is going to try back.
Oh, okay.
This time he's got it.
Okay. But yeah, that's definitely, you know, unfortunate time loss for him. There's that other sword.
Both of our runners going to be really happy to see that sword. Tempered Sword does so much better than Master Sword against late game enemies. Not just bosses, but also the enemies in dungeons.
Alright, the mirror could still be on Trinex. There's still an item to track.
We saw boots laser skips from Mike, and now we're seeing bootsless skips from aarshap. While StructuralMike makes his way into the Trinex fight. This is one of the fights where you're very happy to have Tempered Sword rather than Master Sword. When you have Master Sword and normal magic, I swear to you that this boss knows, and those elemental heads will just be juking and jiving, and all of a sudden your magic bar is gone, and they're not dead yet, and the ice heads just spraying ice all over the floor, and it's a mess. But when you have Tempered Sword, they cooperate really well, and nothing ever happens, you know, nothing bad happens. You never walk into the boss and kill yourself anyway. And as, you know, I was busy saying it, StructuralMike causes the boss to explode, finds 50 rupees for his trouble, and puts another crystal on the board. Crystal number 5 for StructuralMike at 1 hour and 7 minutes.
That was a very nice Trinex fight from StructuralMike. He took down those 2 elemental heads very quickly. I think he missed the double spin, the quicker kill on the main head, but managed to get it down pretty quick after that. So. All right, looks like aarshap doing the same thing with the elemental heads, very quick. See if he pulls off the double spin. Very nice. Okay, so Mike going directly to Desert Palace with that book, not checking the Ether tablet.
And it looks like we've had about a 50-second swing in the opposite direction. StructuralMike gained about 1:50 there with aarshap's unfortunate mishap in the dark platform maze.
Yeah. Question in chat. Yes, Akina has been checked, so it was, I think, just junk.
I see you there, Tired Assault. You're picking up what I'm putting down. To answer Akrap's question in chat, if you get onto the main Rando Discord, there is an MSU packs channel there, and there is a link to a number of community-created packs, including, I do believe, the SMRPG pack that StructuralMike is using today. StructuralMike finding that big key in its vanilla location in Desert Palace, and aarshap following directly along behind. As expected and as proved true so far this seed, our runners are just neck and neck.
So apparently, okay, look, I'm pretty oblivious. So this, did you make a joke about a mishap, like a mischap? Because I see what Tyler Salt said, and I finally got it. There's a butter sword, and that's item number 2, by the way. But I totally missed this joke that you made. I just wanted to point it out because that's good.
So of course both items in hand here, but StructuralMike is going to head straight for the boss once again, a crystal dungeon that he needs to full clear.
Alright,
But
so
now,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, we have that mirror hunt on our hands, though. We know it's not going to be in Desert Palace. That 5/6 crystal off of TR all of a sudden looming just a little larger. How quickly do you want to make that check versus, say, the 4-item density of Thieves Town? Or, you know, where else might StructuralMike want to go? There's that green pendant sitting in Skull Woods that aarshap has already checked.
And there's also Vitreous.
Yep, Pendant Vitreous also available now.
It's not even Meyer, it's Vitreous. And you know, they both skipped the Ether tablet, so if it's there this whole time, they both might feel bad about that.
And somebody might be tempted to do that, if only because you got the book, which lets you into Desert, but the only thing in Desert of any actual value to you was the butter sword. You know, if the mirror had been here, then the book has done its work, but really,
Right.
We've learned that otherwise, the mirror could have been our way in here. So why was that book in the first chest of Turtle Rock?
That's a very good point.
Somebody may decide they want to gamble that Ether tablet here in the very near future.
Oh yeah, you're right. It looks like aarshap did skip the big chest in Desert, so that's where the butter sword is. He might go back for it after he kills Lamo here.
Yeah, this is most likely a boss rush in hopes that the second item is just here. When he doesn't find it and then still does not have mirror in inventory, likely runs right back in.
Yeah.
Gets the compass, get a little sword swipage there, not the second item, have to go back and find out what you left behind, but evening up that crystal count yet again. Crystal number 6 on the board for both runners at an hour 12. And no mirror in sight.
Here's that Pyramid Fairy plate from StructuralMike. And if aarshap makes the same play towards Pyramid Fairy, he'll finally go over and check Pyramid Ledge, and he may even go to Catfish and get that lamp. Not that it's really all that useful anymore, but...
It's a whole lot easier to hit Torch Glitch with it, although with Silvers, even that is kind of devalued at this point.
Very true.
Yep, 1 butter sword for the duck, butter to duck. Sounds tasty. And Siberian, our restreamer, makes a good point. The purple chest is still in play. And sometimes the mirror is just on purple chest. Pyramid Fairy paying out with absolutely nothing.
Right, so aarshap did not check the gate app. Mike did.
And from his perspective, this is a good time to check it while he's in the area. So Mike back into the Thieves Town area.
Now I wonder if aarshap decides to go to the Ether tablet, I wonder if it's not there. I wonder if he'll go in and recheck the Arrow basement.
That is another item's worth of density up there for him that StructuralMike does not have. You are right, that might just kind of tease him towards that that particular play.
Wow. It's like he's doing... Wait, nope. Was that a misclick or... No, not. Yeah? Changed his mind. Okay, here's the Pyramid Fairy play from him.
And purple chest from Mike. Mike is going to start banking on the idea that the end of the seed is just terrible, and he's going to start checking terrible locations. Not going to go for the relative density of dungeons, has 3 pendant dungeons on offer. Nope, it's the purple chest play.
Right? Yeah, I honestly, I probably would check Thieves Town first, just me, but there's also, wait, no, is he going to Meyer?
I think he is going to Meyer, and this makes some sense based on the same logic that you might try to chase the book up to the Ether tablet, being that you got the Bombos medallion and you got a sword and the book out of Turtle Rock, and the sword, well, didn't really pay out as such, and the book only paid out in another sword. Maybe the Bombos medallion yet has a little more work to do, so you'll look in the Meyer area for your required mirror to go beat the seed. And yes, Akbuhesh, we do have an outside shot of a ped seed here. The mirror not required to perform any of the pendant dungeons that our runners have available to them today. And this does look like that catfish play from aarshap, so going to get the lamp, probably not going to be terribly happy about it.
Yeah, considering it's been available this whole time, and, you know, I'm sure he knows it cost him some time, and especially in TR.
That's the part that's going to feel bad. He had a reasonably good time of Palace of Darkness, but that problem that he encountered in the Dark Maze, that platform maze in Turtle Rock, that might haunt him just a bit when he gets this item.
Yep, it's a Godmire, and it's never when you need it to be.
Something in the nature of a demigod mire, I suppose. There's the lamp catch and the immediate save quit. Let's see how aarshap wants to play this now.
Oh, looks like he's going for flute, so I don't know if this is an ether tablet check.
Yeah, again, you have to make the entire loop around the mountain with no mirror to get at that ether tablet, so it is rather out of the way.
So I wonder if he'll go for purple chest or if he'll go Thieves Town.
Mike is done in mire. I believe he has found both items, not going to chance the boss.
Looks like purple chest. I'm honestly a little shocked that neither of them have checked at least the front 4 and Thieves.
It seems to be a conscious decision on the side of both runners that the seed is just turning bad on them. This seed is souring, and they need to do bad checks to make their way.
I mean,
Mike kind of doing
only
the
turned bad because they kept going to bad checks. Like, I'm sorry, I don't. There's not really a thing as a bad check, really, but you know what I mean, like a slower check or less dense check or out of the way check. That's what I mean.
And now they're both going to try Thieves Town. If the answer is here, our runners are going to be within about 15 seconds of each other.
Wow, yeah, that's incredible.
If the answer is not here, it's very likely that StructuralMike's next play is into that Green Pendant Skullwoods. But I think the answer
That's
almost
true.
has to be here at this point unless it's on the bed. Because we're running low on checks, you know, Ped, Ether Tablet, or in here.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? Alright, everything's in the back.
Absolutely everything is in the back. So let's get a little timing as both of our runners go through this big key door here. StructuralMike at 1:19:43.
Wow.
aarshap at 1:19:46. 3 seconds.
My goodness.
Yep, that front was as bad as a front of Thieves Town can be. Anybody who dipped this early, you know, maybe they went ahead and went to the back in that case, but of course we've only got 2 runners running this seed and they both avoided it until now. Both of them going to go ahead and blast this open first before checking the item. I might have been tempted to hope that the item was just the thing that I needed, but, you know, it seems to have worked out for them. It was just a piece of heart after all.
It's like aarshap has gained a couple seconds. He's only behind by about a second now. Oh. And he pulled ahead.
StructuralMike had a little bit of a finicky dash lineup there the first time, decided to start it over again, and that gave aarshap those couple of seconds.
Goodness, this is incredibly close.
Now, did anybody tell these guys that this isn't an MG and they shouldn't be within a second and a half of each other at an hour and 21 into the game?
Right? I really kind of hope that the mirror is here. Because then that means the rest is all just them like racing each other through execution. You know? Like if the mirror is not here, then they have to diverge again because there's checks the others haven't done, you know. Uh-oh. aarshap just fell on this
Those red barries are not kind, and they bumped him right off the ledge there. Yet another lead change. I think we're up to 5 at this point.
Yeah, it's going back and forth.
Blind informing us that sausage is, in fact, the worst.
right.
Mike with a
Down
very
goes
clean scripted fight.
Oh, it is not here. What does that leave? Is it just Ped and Ether Tablet?
For our no mode, I believe it is just PED and Ether Tablet.
Wait, did anybody do fake powder?
I believe the answer to that is no, but for that to be a thing, somebody would have to turn the powder up somewhere.
Alright, so both of these have been checked by the others, so they're just going back over each other's footsteps here. Yeah, that's a good point. 84 minutes in, and here's the game.
Casual 84-minute dig game, like you do. Gonna go ahead and take that bottle with a little extra safety for the late game.
And I don't think Mike has done Stumpy either.
No, that was part of aarshap's early Dark World routing, making this kind of southern-western loop of the Dark World that StructuralMike did not do.
Okay, looks like a Meyer check from aarshap here. You know, they're really avoiding that Ether Tablet. And what, maybe... Oh. Is this an Ether Tablet?
I think this is an Ether Tablet.
Yeah,
that is
you know,
really interesting, the choice not to go for the 2+1 items in Green Pendant Skullwoods before doing this, refusing to check the pedestal as well.
Right. I mean, it's kind of like you said, you know, the progression from book, there was really nothing there. And, you know, that is the one kind of thing that might be pushing him in this direction. But it is annoying to make this check without the mirror, obviously, because you have to go all the way around.
And yes, we do have a mirror hunt on our hand star, and to answer Drossie's question, Mike in fact was doing mirrorless smiths with save and quits and did not check dig game and Stumpy on the way. But here we are, let's see if this Ether Tablet is paying out. This was what I had my hopes pinned on.
It was
and there it is.
All along. Okay, so
that from our perspective is unfortunate because yeah, go ahead with the line.
Huh?
Go ahead with the line. You were going to call Mike's go time.
Oh no, it's okay. It was 1 minute or an hour and 25 minutes and like 10 seconds or so.
And
yeah,
unfortunately, that coin flip is going to kind of put the end to this, barring some very unfortunate circumstance on Mike's end, like an emulator crash or a power outage. I think it's pretty safe to call this one.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, there's still a lot. You know, they still have to go through all of Swamp.
Blink and
yeah,
you'll miss this go mode Swamp.
Yeah, that's true. Our aarshap is probably going to beat Viddy and pull the pad at this point, having the other two pennants already. I don't see him bailing out of here after finding 2 items.
No, with the other 2 pendants already in hand, you know, making the play to the boss just in case you're wrong and it's PED after all. From aarshap's perspective, makes a lot of sense.
Right. It's crazy how close they were, how many lead changes they were up until this moment, you know?
Yeah, we had them going into the back of Thieves Town 3 seconds apart. We had a couple of lead changes in Thieves Town. You know, it's almost a shame that once we've reached this far into the tournament that we're not best of 5 instead, because only getting 2 games of this pairing is kind of unfortunate from a viewer's perspective.
I agree. It is unfortunate because they're both so good, and just to see them that close together, you know, when it's just like, you know, one of these seeds being kind of trolly and...
Yes, Alkaline Ace, the mirror was in fact on Ether Tablet, as I had been surmising for quite some time.
Yeah. You've been calling it left and right, medium. Makes me you're acting a little sus. I don't know.
Well, you know, you can always drop by my stream. I talk about these things pretty regularly. You too can join the Mindium School of Witchcraft and Wizardry.
Like seriously, sign me up. I'm down. I wanna do this so bad.
Now, I'll shout out a runner here who has been knocked out of the main tournament now, but a couple of them actually. Homemade Beer and CS Tutor are the ones who have been kind of training me in the art of reading the terribleness out of these seeds. Not that I'm all that good at it, but they sure are.
Alright, aarshap taking down Vidi, getting his third pendant. So, hey, at least we'll get to see what's on pedestal, as he's likely to go there right away after this.
Yep, a few silver sticks into the eyeballs there. Vitreous just melts under the firepower of those silver arrows, but StructuralMike, meanwhile, you blink and you miss it, is all the way through and on to phase 2 of Argus.
Yeah, he took down those little puffs very fast. And do you want to take away the GT game?
Alright, here we go. StructuralMike with 7 crystals now in hand. It is, in fact, that time. Time at last for Mike to make that final climb up the mountain. To go all the way to Ganon's Tower, those 7 crystals will break the seal on that tower, the ladder will extend, and he can climb in, where there are 22 possible locations in the basement, where that big key can be hidden from him today. He needs to find that key to climb the tower and have an argument with a wizard. Without doing that, he does not get to face off against the big pig, and I can tell you, as every runner can, that he very much desires to do that before his opponent, because if he can do that, he will take this series 2 games to none, ending Ganon's reign of terror on this wonderful Thursday. So go ahead and get your bets in chat. We use a little different system here on ZSR. It's bets rather than guesses. They've got their own thing set up, and first one to bet wins.
Now, I actually missed what it said on the pedestal. It's the red boomerang? It was something like no matter what, I think it must be like always comes back or something like that. Must be a boomerang.
Red always returns to you, I think is what the line is.
Ah, okay. So that's
oh, hey, speaking of that guy I was just talking about, CS Tutor showing his face in chat. If you want to understand the logic of the game and how to route terrible seeds, go bother him. Aarshap, finally having that 1 hour and 30-minute look at the Lumberjack ledge, sees that that is not where his answer is, and I believe may in fact be down to a last location. No, not quite.
Oh, the shovel.
Still has the shovel on his side, that's right. But as he goes to make that check, which we know is unfortunately not the item he's seeking, Mike is into the tower, going to head to the right, head to Hope Room. There are a couple of checks here. You're hoping to see big key, small key, but if you see at least one small key, maybe you can continue right. And no, the answer is that Mario is going to have to head left today. See the 4th bottle with a B in it there on the torch? That B is probably getting pretty agitated with all that fire under the bottle.
Yeah, that's a good point. Never thought about that.
One wonders more how something like the map manages to last any time at all on top of that torch.
Oh, wow, yeah. Hey, that's a handy half magic. So, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Half magic, easily the nicest thing he's found in here so far. Yeah, you know, makes the gauntlet a whole lot easier. You can spam some fire rod shots in some rooms where otherwise you're going to have to go around with your sword and, you know, perform shenanigans against these Stalfos who like to try and dodge you in any number of ways. And Aarshap, at his last location, heads to the Ether Tablet, finds the mirror.
You know, for being basically last location, an hour and 32 minutes, that's still incredible. I mean, this is all dungeons besides Aga for him. I mean, I guess he still has to do Swamp, but
Yeah, it's a quick clear time of every other dungeon in the game looking for a single item for sure. Meanwhile, Mike's made his way all the way down to Rando Room.
so this is going to be what, 10, 11, 12, 13? Oh, there it is. That's the big key. Was that chest number 10?
I do believe you are correct. That is a chest 10 check for StructuralMike. Did not even want to check the remaining chest for another small key. He is going to content himself with the one off of the mini Helmosaur at the tail end of this gauntlet climb.
And congrats to Irritable Penguin for guessing 10 on the big key guessing game.
Silver Arrow is again doing yeoman's work, just blasting down those red mimics.
I've never seen somebody run straight through the middle there.
Yep, there are a number of different ways to do that. It is kind of interesting with the application of the hook shot, something that you're unlikely to see in NMG where quick swap is not on offer to you.
Looks like Mike's choosing to use the ether tablet or ether medallion here for these red stoppuses.
That is probably, in some respect, the worst room of this entire gauntlet. Those things can really get away from you. They go where they want. If you try to slash them, if you're not close enough to them, they'll just jump away from you. All the rest of these are reasonably easy to put to the sword, but those guys, particularly in that second room, if you have something like Ether where you can just blast them all away and not have to worry about it, using the medallion and taking the second or two additional time for that to go off, probably still a pretty good idea. If nothing else, it makes life easier.
Yeah, absolutely. Meanwhile, we have aarshap here getting that diver down very, very nicely done in Swamp Palace and his Go Mode Swamp. I think he'll make it to GT before StructuralMike finishes.
Yeah, I think he'll at least be opening the tower first, which, you know, as long as you're in the tower before your opponent finishes, you feel like you've at least run an okay race. You know, you and your opponent have done fairly similar things. You knew that you and your opponent were at least reasonably close in skill level. So you feel like, you know, one or two different choices maybe does this for me. And that mirror on Ether Tablet was just going to ruin everybody's day. Goose hooking a whole bunch of Argai, and phase 2, one silver arrow straight to the dome, down goes Argus.
I always forget that you can use the silver arrow on Argus, and it's just, that was, like, I know it's hard to hit, like a lot of people miss often, but that was one shot bam.
Yeah, the hitbox for Argus can be a little strange with those arrows sometimes, but yes, a very clean one shot right to the dome there by aarshap. Mike has no time at all for the ultimate chest of the game. We'll never know. It probably just had its vanilla value today, but somebody thinks he has a race to win, and in fact he is correct about that.
Yep, I definitely have learned my lesson. Alright, we'll see how many it takes to kill our... Oh, that was 1. 2, 3? Was that 2 or 3?
That looked like it was split up far enough to be 3, but we'll find out here in a second. Nope, must have counted as 2.
Yeah, I have to have been 2 now. There we go, so 1, 2, 2, 1.
Nicely cleaned up by Mike there. Those first couple of patterns were not the nicest in the world, but he made the best of them.
Okay, so this is going to be a fight with Ganon with silver arrows, butter sword, red mail, plenty of potions, half magic. Shouldn't be too much trouble for StructuralMike here.
This fight does not get a whole lot freer. For a runner who's made it to this round, you can't imagine that there's any concern at all. The only thing is maybe a little bit of nerves that my opponent may have gotten to that mirror just a few seconds before me. Maybe he's in phase 2 or phase 3 right now.
Right. I like that he's using the kick here, not because he needs it, but it makes it easier to get those hits in, get him out of the way. It's basically faster to use, because if you get hit at all, then it takes time to recover. And
Yep, with the potions, with the half magic, with the cape, it makes a lot of sense. Just, keep it free, keep it easy. There's no reason to run any risks in this fight. You have everything you need to just plow your way through it. And aarshap is into the tower here. He's going to start making checks. Appears to be heading directly to the left. Ganon announcing to the world that silvers are in fact his one true weakness. Mike is going to go ahead and get Torch Glitch with half magic, half a bar of magic there, and the bottle. Ooh. I don't know that he really needed to have that, but
nice
he wanted it and he got it.
And just one more, and down he goes.
As StructuralMike shoots the...
Go ahead.
As StructuralMike shoots that fourth silver stick into the pig explodes. He's going to stand there with the sword raised high in the air while the fanfare plays, and as soon as this bridge appears, he gets to cross it, and he will finish up. Get your GGs in chat for StructuralMike with a time there of 1 hour, 39 minutes, and 19 seconds on Racetime GG, is first overall and has won this series 2-0.
I like how the final comment is, did you like that bow placement? Like, the bow was nice.
GG's.
Yeah. And we are, in fact, joined in the booth by StructuralMike and aarshap. Good game to both of you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was quite the race.
Yeah, GG.
Yeah, GG to you both. That's really awesome. So there are lots of things to talk about, I think, but I just wanted to point out real quick before we get started how close you guys were. So many times you guys just kept flip-flopping who had the lead. You both were in Thieves Town and you were 3 seconds apart looking for that mirror. And it just happened to be, whoever decided to get that ether tablet check-in got there first, whereas aarshap had decided to, go for the ped pull, where StructuralMike decided to go for the ether tablet first.
I know aarshap is a really good player, same level as me, if that's good. And I'm not surprised that we were that close. But when I found Mitz in pod in this seed, every bone in my body said everything else will be behind Mitz. And turns out I was right, but I lost faith in it. For a while I was starting to clear out Thieves Town and Village of Outcasts, and I just felt this huge pit in my stomach. Until I decided, no, let's just go for ether tablets. Go with my instinct, and it turned out it was right.
Yeah, it was a really tough call to make. I mean, it's a one-off. It's extremely out of the way without the mirror, right? So it sounds like we both had Thieves Town looking for it. I had Meyer, I had other stuff I'm forgetting, I don't know. The other thing though was I skipped Hera Basement, so part of my thinking was if I go make that tablet play, I'm basically committing to do Hera Basement at this point, which sort of pulled me away from it, I guess.
Interesting, because I actually was asking my co-com, my DM, about that. I was like, oh, do you think the fact that he left the Hera Basement open, do you think that'll lead him back towards it to do both checks at once, or do you think that's going to keep him away? So and he was like, I don't know, that's something we're going to have to ask him afterwards, so I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah, I mean, it's time consuming, right?
Yeah.
And at that point, it's so late in the race that you feel like seconds matter, so I just had to prioritize other stuff. Also, it's like it's tough to make a hero basement play that late when it's totally possible that your opponent did it early, you know? So
Right.
yeah.
And the difference there too was you made a Skull Woods play early for the green pendant before you went over to pod, and so for you, you had what, like 2 pendants already, with the Thieves Town and Skull Woods. So for you, it made sense to go ahead and full clear Mire, whereas StructuralMike, he found both items in Mire and left because he had not done Skull Woods or anything like that. So for you, it made sense. You were like, oh, I'm so close to the pet already. If it's pet, then definitely want to go ahead and get this, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the smarter play would have been using the book to go check ped before, like, going over to Thieves Town to do purple chest and stuff like that. So I sort of regretted it pretty quick. I don't know how much time it would have saved me, but I know both items in Mire were pretty early, but certainly wouldn't have saved me 7 minutes. so it's all good. Yeah, to Mike's point, yeah, all the respect in the world to Mike, super good runner. So that late in a race, you just sort of have to chase the things that might work out for you, I guess. And I just felt like hero basement was more risky. So
yeah, no, it definitely makes sense with the decisions there. You have to make those plays, you have to make those calls. Being in the race, it's always more pressure, and you have to make these calls really quickly while you're doing other things and multitasking. And so props to you both for making very good plays. Like, you both made good decisions. It just happened to be one thing and not the other. So it was a really exciting race to watch. Just the fact of how close you guys were, and what it came down to in the end and stuff like that. So very enjoyable. I think everybody was entertained.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, I always dread the go mode item hunt, and the seed was no exception to that. The horrors that can ensue if you don't end up going where you should be going. But up until that point, it was a really fun seed to try and figure out what to do and follow the patterns that emerged from the progression you got. But yeah, the ether tablet was there just as you exited Turtle Rock, but you couldn't check it because you had no mirror, and it was like, damn you.
Yeah, totally. The item hunts are always rough. I agree though. It was a pretty fun seed. It was pretty wide open for a while. I know. I don't know. Pendant, Skullwoods and Pendant Thieves Town are always tough to get in the seed, especially when there's both of them. But I feel like early in our Dark World access, there was a lot of checks open over in that corner of the world. I made a sort of low percentage pod play that I was pretty happy with. Yeah, I don't know. Like, this is just how rando works. Like, you can't feel too bad about just last locationing an item, especially when it's in a spot like this. So yeah, totally like happy with the seed, and yeah, I'm pumped for Mike. Gonna be watching him move on in this tournament here, and like I said, a lot of respect for him, and he's mined for this game and how he plays too. So yeah, congrats to Mike, and yeah, good luck.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And likewise, I've anticipated this race to be close, and they were close, absolutely. And this is the first time it was restreamed as well, and I didn't think it would get to me, but it got to me, and I struggled in the beginning to keep myself together with execution, and I'm sure the people who have seen me multiple times could pick up on that. And there was a few weird things I did. I know that didn't end up costing me time, but it's just kept nagging at me that, oh, you gotta focus more. But it was real tough, but it was real fun to be part of this, and such a cool privilege to get on a restream like this. And I never anticipated or expected to get this far in this tournament. This is my first tournament. And then now it suddenly got real. Like, oh, I can get further? What's going to happen?
Nice. Yeah, it was my first one as well. So making it to 32 is pretty dope, I would say. But yeah, on the jitters, like it's kind of nice that this is a really long seed, I guess. In that sense, it gave you some time to just like chill out a bit and focus. And if you did make like an execution error early, the seed was so drawn out that probably didn't matter too much. So yeah.
Yeah, it's really good to hear your guys' opinions about that being, hearing that it's your first experience being restreamed and how you felt with it. And, those are things that often people kind of forget about when, they watch racers and, they might be like, oh, that was kind of like sloppier or something like that. But, forgetting that, it's tense, it's nerve-wracking. You're racing against somebody, you have no idea how far or how well they're doing, and you're being watched by all these people, and the nerves can really get to you. So absolute congrats to both of you. Congratulations to StructuralMike for moving forward, and congratulations, aarshap, to getting as far as you did and facing off against an opponent. You're both extremely good runners, and you both deserve congrats for that. So
Appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Yep, we'll reiterate, good game to both you guys. It was a very fun one to watch. StructuralMike, you'll be moving on to face the winner of Tigerton Malxanthalos, which I believe Game 2 of that is not coming up until this weekend sometime. But looking forward to see how that goes going forward. aarshap, unfortunately, your tournament life as a runner ends here, but we've been in the booth together before, and I certainly wouldn't mind doing it in the future if you're wanting to keep the hand in a little bit.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm so depressed right now. I'm gonna have to really work my way out of this, but hopefully one day I can fire the mic up again and talk about Zelda for a little bit. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I cannot tell sarcasm, and I was like really worried. I was like so concerned.
I really believe
He's
you there.
so
I was like,
deadpan,
oh my
it's great.
God. Oh my
You
God.
have to be so bad.
No, like I said, actually yesterday, our seed yesterday, I was like pretty down about because it was another long one, but I had a pretty bad execution error in pod yesterday, and like when you lose, or when you either lose because of, or like, or when an execution error like contributes to your overall loss, it's really easy to feel bad about that. That's like an unforced error or whatever. But like I said, these seeds where you're just hunting for items and you get randoed, it's all good. Like if you if you get too despondent about just like last locationing an item or something, like go play something else. I think it's just part of the game. It happens.
Gonna happen.
Yeah, I think it's super important for stuff like this where you have to realize or think about, did I lose because I made bad plays and executed poorly, or did I lose because I got randoed and my opponent happened to go left when I went right, and I gained them 10 minutes because that's how this works. And you have to differentiate between those two scenarios to not go insane.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, routing obviously is like a skill, and a lot of thought goes into how you stitch checks together. I know we've talked about that a bit, both in Discord and on Twitch, Mike. It's like you can spend a lot of time thinking about that. But like, yeah, in this case, that item was in such a nasty spot. It's like, it's all good.
Yeah, those are excellent points you guys made. Was there anything else that you guys wanted to mention about the seed itself, or anything else that you wanted to talk about?
The only thing was that I went immediately in the Dark World to catfish and got my lantern, and I thought about our seed yesterday. Like, is he gonna get lantern today, or did you end up doing Dark Pod again?
I did Dark Pod again, so I was vindicated on my goof yesterday. Yeah, I found it really late. I did Dark TR as well and got hung up again in that TR Dark Room. That sort of gets me every time, no matter how much I practice it. But yeah, I think the only Dark Room I did not in the dark was in Mire. So
that was in fact another one of the lead changes we had. aarshap, you were ahead at that point when you got into that room by about 50 seconds. And the unfortunate snafu that you had in there with that dark platform maze allowed that to swing to about 50 seconds in StructuralMike's advantage.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
great.
wow.
I mean, that's literally what happened yesterday too. So I struggled in the pod basement, and I did the same exact thing yesterday as well, and probably lost a minute or so. So I thought I practiced it a little bit this morning and got the inputs down, but I guess not. So I need to stop wasting time practicing my Moldorm bounce and start wasting time practicing my TR Darkroom, I guess.
We saw you doing those Mulder bounces before the race started. You were getting those pretty good. It's like above 50% rate.
It's like
Oh.
it's so pointless. Like I've had one actual race, like Beyond Overseed, where I had to use it of the
Yeah,
over
Dark TR is
100.
probably more likely than Mulder bounce.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Well, at least you're not as bad as me. I get mixed up with those platforms, even with the lamp. So
But yeah, I know how much work goes into the restream and comms. So I know Siberian turning knobs in the background. You guys on comms. I know Pixie and Homewrecker maybe on the tracker.
right.
So yeah, seriously, thanks to everyone. It's a really cool service to the community that we have races like this to watch all day.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate what you said. That, yeah, fantastic job. And it's so cool that people volunteer to do this because everyone gets exposure and it's part of the community to commentate each other and improve. I use it as a way to improve as well as entertainment. And it's just so much fun. And I'm just happy to be part of it and sometimes give back by tracking myself and such. So excellent job to both the comms trackers and restreamers. Really cool.
Yeah, thank you both for allowing yourselves to be put out there. You put on a great show for us. Thank you again so much for the kind words. I will reiterate, Siberian, thank you for putting all this stuff together on the back end, the technical work that goes into the restream. My co-com today has been Smirk JD, Homewrecker, and Professor Pixie pushing the buttons on tracking. And of course, I am MindDM. Now, one more thing before we go. As they were saying, this is a volunteer force. If you would like to volunteer, get onto the Challenge Cup Discord, which you can probably get to from ZSR's own Discord, and you can sign up and do this if you think that, hey, I can talk about this game. I'd enjoy that. We are always looking for some more people who are enjoying talking about this game to help bring these restreams to you, or I don't know that I want to be the person on the hot microphone talking about the game, but I could push the buttons behind the scenes, make those buttons on the tracker light up so everybody in chat knows what all the runners have. It's a volunteer force. We would absolutely appreciate seeing you. With that, Smirk, do you have any final thoughts?
No, just thank you to everybody involved. You know, like you said, I feel the same way, so I very much appreciate it. So.
Excellent. With that, thank you all for giving us an hour and 50 minutes roughly of your time. I'm going to turn this back over to Siberian for a few final words on upcoming schedule notes for ZSR. Thank you, everybody. This is MindDM, Smirk JD on the co-com here.
And sorry, go on.
No, I just said thanks.
And for upcoming matches here on ZSR, we are done for today. No more restreams scheduled, but tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern, we have a round 3 match between Slowpoke and Yuki Kaze of the Challenge Cup tournament, as well as a Wind Waker Randomizer tournament match at 5 p.m. Eastern. Saturday is quite stacked right now, so please check our schedule for more Zelda content. And we are going to raid over to Scottish Brave 44. And with everything said, I thank you very much for watching and see you next time here on ZSR.